That's good. Sunday.
You ready to go? Aaron,
Yeah.
are we ready? Call this meeting to order at 9:01 a.m. And we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance and Supervisor Ricketson, will you lead us? Yeah.
We salute, I pledge allegiance to
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And roll call.
Member Masali. Member Austin.
Here.
Member Ramasi.
Here.
Member Redfeld.
Here.
Member Nakia. Here. Member Hattler.
Here.
Member Gresham.
Here.
Member Chris. Member Sharper.
Here.
Member Hudson. Member Benson. Member Foreham.
Here.
Member O'Connell.
Here.
Member Chavez. Member Lewis.
Here.
We have quorum.
Okay, now we have potential conflicts of interest. Any board member has a potential conflict of interest, please identify. Not hearing any, none online. All right, moving on. Public comment, business and presentations on the floor. We'll take 10 minutes of this meeting reserved for members of the public who wish to address the Conservancy. Please.
Chip Sloan, Fresno, California. Some pictures got passed around and I'd like to compliment the staff of Conservancy and the CHP for their diligence. There's several homeless camps on the island at Wildwood. And they took some immediate steps to warn the individuals that they were there illegally and had to move. But there's a fallen tree that went across the river. They were going across the tree and they cut some large swaths of vegetation. They're making trails in the island. And then there's a picture of a whole bunch of garbage there. Most of that is from, at one time there's 11 camps out there. And they were digging pits and putting the garbage in the pits. And they're also, it's very common for them to take good stuff when they're told to move, to take good supplies, tents and things, wrap them in tarp and bury those. And I suspect the guys that were there this weekend were digging, trying to find pits like that. But there's a big huge debris field on the island. Sometime in May or when the water's safe, we'll try to get a group together to clean that up. There's still one camp on the island as far as I know, but again, got to thank the Conservancy and Robert and the CHP for their help in these camps. So this is not the only places where Robert and the CHP have been, but anyhow, thank you.
Thank you. From the public. You guys are quiet this morning. Okay.
Can I ask a question? What's the policy for removing these encampments?
The Conservancy doesn't have an official policy, but we do follow guidance from the governor's office until we can form an official policy. We do provide and post notice in advance to allow an opportunity for the unhomed individuals to relocate. And then after that posted notice time has expired, then we would either hire a crew or work with an appropriate agency to remove the materials that remain.
What was the time of
I think it's 72 hours.
that, is that state?
It's a, do you know what the, yeah,
That's coming from law enforcement.
but it's so,
The notice they.
when we worked with law enforcement to develop our CHP contract, we also worked with Caltrans. And that was part of the Caltrans policy, and it's a recommendation from law enforcement. I believe it's tied to some kind of code,
Well,
but I'm not sure.
we have something. City of Fresno, we have ordinances that you can remove people right away. I'm not sure what needs to be done to allow that. I mean, I don't know why we allow 72 hours.
If the person has a felony or a warrant for their arrest, they are removed immediately.
Yeah, but let's say they don't. And I don't know why they should be allowed to camp out here for another 3 days, continuing to destroy this area. So is there some way to find out how we can, remove them without a 72-hour notice? And also when we remove them, do they just go somewhere else down the road? I mean, I want to see about doing something to not allow this kind of stuff to go on the river.
Okay, we can look into the 72-hour notice recommendation or requirement, and then I can provide additional information to you and the board.
And you might want to contact the city of Fresno, Andrew Jans, the city attorney, because we passed ordinances to address this problem. With that new ruling that came out, to get where it was, you might, grab test. Yeah, so, yeah, okay, thank you.
Yeah, most of the time, folks do move on that same day or the day after. They start immediately collecting their items and then move on. And then we also work within the city limits with the HART team, and they provide resources to get them where they need to be.
Anybody else? All right. We'll move on to the consent item. There's been a request from staff to pull item E4. Are there any other items that the council would like, excuse me, that the board would like to? Hear anybody from the public? Somebody want anything on the consent? All right, do we have a motion?
So
Second. We have a first and a second. Do we do a roll call or do we just do all in favor for consent?
So there's a motion to the consent. It was motion by Supervisor Butterfield, seconded by Councilmember. I'm sorry. Did you motion or was it Brett? Brett, I'm sorry. Member Foreman. And then we're going to roll call vote, correct?
For all of the consent items except for E4.
Yes.
Thank you. Sorry, my associate was distracting me.
You guys work hard, we get it.
Okay, Member Austin,
Yes.
Member Herbasi,
Yes.
Member Brightfield,
Yes.
Member Mejia,
Who's doing this?
yes. Member Hattler,
Yes.
Member Gresham,
Yes.
Member Sharper,
Yes.
Member Forehand,
Yes.
Member O'Connell,
Yes.
Member Weiss,
Yes.
Member Chavez, do you want to vote even though you're right here? Abstain. Thank you, you guys have it.
Okay, item E4.
Okay, so item E4 is an informational item and no action by the San Joaquin River Conservancy Board is required. It is titled Ledger Island Safety Notice and Permanent Bridge Closure. The San Joaquin River Conservancy, through a state lands commission lease, is responsible for the maintenance of an existing road right-of-way, bridge crossing, approach embankments, and associated riprap bank protection located near River Mile 262.2 on the San Joaquin River. The leased area, known as the Ledger Island Bridge, was built as a crossing between Conservancy-owned properties in Fresno and Madera County, currently known as Ball Ranch and Ledger Island. The San Joaquin River Parkway and Conservation Trust, also known as the River Parkway Trust, is the current operation and maintenance agreement holder for Ball Ranch and Ledger Island. In 2014, the Department of Water Resources began gathering information on the Ledger Island Bridge for planning purposes. During this early evaluation, DWR a complete structural evaluation be performed prior to considering any design work. They concluded that the bridge foundation piles are inadequate to safely carry vehicles or pedestrians due to excessive scour. A buckling failure in the pile foundation of the center pier, combined with the simple span design of the superstructure, can lead to a sudden and catastrophic failure without advance warning. Therefore, DWR recommended that the bridge not be used for any purpose until steps are taken to remediate the effects of scour on the foundations or until the existing structure is replaced. Since the survey was completed in 2014, there have been multiple high water events and further visible degradation to the pier, abutment, and wings. The San Joaquin River Conservancy has permanently closed the bridge and surrounding area between Ledger Island and Ball Ridge for any and all types of crossings, including pedestrian and vehicles. Barriers and signage have been installed at both ends of the bridge advising the recreating public of the bridge closure due to the unsafe nature of the bridge. At the February Parkway Action and Community Engagement Meeting, also known as PACE, several participants commented that they are still actively using and crossing the Ledger Island Bridge. On February 19th, the Conservancy requested pursuant to Section J, Public Safety Subpart C of the Active Operation and Maintenance Agreement that the River Parkway Trust install additional fencing signage and provide additional training to park hosts regarding the permanent closure of the bridge. The Conservancy has also posted information about the permanent bridge closure to its website. The Conservancy and River Parkway Trust are currently working with DWR to obtain updated information costs for a comprehensive bridge evaluation or remediation or removal of the Ledger Island Bridge, and I do have those numbers today. The Conservancy and River Parkway Trust also are looking into available funding and potential design and construction costs for a new pedestrian river crossing. It is anticipated that at the May Conservancy Board meeting, a discussion on property and project prioritization will occur, which will include PACE recommended project alternatives for the Ledger Island Bridge or a new pedestrian river crossing. So DWR just sent an updated estimate. So originally, alternative one, which was to further study the bridge, was $610,000, and today's estimate is anticipated to be approximately $903,000 just for further study to evaluate the bridge. Alternative two was to retrofit the bridge, and the 2015 quote was $6.5 million, and they were not comfortable with providing a retrofit quote at this time because it wasn't determined that that might be an appropriate project alternative. So alternative three, which was the replacement of the bridge in 2015, was anticipated to be about $6.5 million as well. And now the 2025 estimate is $16,811,000. And since we had our in-person meeting with the River Parkway Trust to discuss additional safety measures and precautions that can be taken at the bridge, they have been diligently working on implementing them. It includes additional fencing and signage. Yes.
Okay. No, this is great. I always say when I get numbers like this, it's very sobering. You all know how I feel about those PACE meetings. It was just a chance for us to get beat up by people that don't have all the information. They come out there and they say, well, we don't care if it's unsafe. We're going to ride right through there anyhow. And that's dangerous for us because this is, when you're talking about state property, there's liability there. And it is a very unsafe bridge. I appreciate what staff did to kind of keep the peace at the meeting, keep us on target. But here's the reality. We do not have unlimited resources. And the state doesn't have unlimited resources. We have to work with what we can. And my question, I think Barry Bauer brought this up at the last meeting. Sorry about that. Barry Bauer brought this up. How many people are actually going to use this bridge versus another bridge? Or they were even, I think some people were suggesting, forget River West, let's focus on this bridge. And that really got me upset because we're talking about opening up the Fresno side to thousands of families versus one small bridge that a small group of people use. And that's one bridge. How many bridges do we actually need between Fresno and there? A lot. So I don't think we should call our eggs into, I don't know, Easter Bunny, but I can call eggs into this one basket. So I do appreciate staff's time, but later on I'm going to give some comments during board time about PACE and what I think what PACE should be. So good job to our staff, but it was a tough meeting.
Anyone else wish to comment?
I absolutely agree with Councilmember Kornowski. Staff did a fantastic job. I do think the PACE is a great opportunity for the public to get informed about those things. If it weren't for PACE, I think that more misinformation or disinformation would have happened. So I do appreciate staff for reaffirming what the board intentions were and what the realities were. Appreciate it.
Anyone else? And this is an information only item, so just does not have to go out to the public, correct?
Oh, we're accepting public comment.
Oh,
No, there will be any actions taken.
Okay. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this?
Morning, my name's John Halpin. I'm a volunteer along the Parkway. I read the 2015 report last month, and two things popped into my head. The first one was public safety, and the second one was what would happen should this bridge collapse. So in the short term, the public safety portion has been taken care of. I want to thank the Parkway Trust for the work that they're doing out there. I was out there yesterday, and they're hardening it to keep people off of it, and that's important. But now we can turn our attention to what would happen if this thing collapses. So I have two scenarios for that, but first you have to understand how the bridge is built. You have two abutments with the center support in the river. In the river channel, there are two sets of five I-beams that go from the abutments to that center support. And then there are 10 precast concrete segments that are set on top to form the deck of the bridge. So in a best case scenario, if this thing should collapse, the two sections would come down because the center support is the part that will collapse. That's what the report is saying. And so they might just drop down into the channel and partially block the water flow, and eventually it will flow over it. And it's no big deal, except for now the bridge is in the river. It's much more difficult, much more expensive to take it out. The second scenario would be a worst case scenario where the bridge collapses in high flow. And it could actually drop down and pull the wing walls and the abutments with it. And now you have a dam. So in 2023, the flow rate of the river was over 10,000 cubic feet per second for most of the summer. So in the 3 minutes it's going to take me to explain this, you would have 1.8 million cubic feet of water stacked up behind this temporary dam. And if the dam should fail, then you've got this wall of water that moves down the channel. So what's downstream from the channel? Well, there's salmon spawning grounds, the Willow Unit, Owl Hollow, Circle V, Fresno River West, Woodward Park, a mobile home park at Highway 41, and et cetera, et cetera. So I am proposing that as soon as possible, we bring a crane in and remove the concrete deck. That is the majority of the weight on that center pier. And that would possibly eliminate the chance of it collapsing. And you can also pull out some of those girders at the same time. And what it does is, if it does collapse after that, then there's a much simpler cleanup, because now it's like pulling matchsticks from a mud puddle. So I asked Carrie at last month's PACE meeting if we could elevate this to an emergency status. And she said that the state would not consider an emergency until it collapses. That doesn't make any sense to me. We should be able to find a way to take care of this before it collapses. So one way to think about this is, you know, if you're sitting on the stand in a court of law and an attorney approaches you, he will ask questions based on a simple premise of what did you know, when did you know it, and how did you respond? So now you know. Thank you.
Board members, there's also a copy of John's comments in your board packets in the front of the binder. We also have a comment online from Vanessa Jones. She asks, would community members still be able to fundraise to fix the bridge? And we'll respond.
Good morning, Sarah Parks with the San Joaquin River Parkway and Conservation Trust. I first wanted to just provide an update to let you all know that the additional fencing that's described in the agenda packet was completed yesterday, so that's great news. We are working on signage. We are waiting for a quote on the signage, and we'll continue working with Conservancy staff to get that in place as soon as possible. The other update I wanted to provide is that, as you mentioned, Councilmember, the numbers are sobering coming from DWR. And the trust has been working with Conservancy staff to look at all potential options because I can tell you, professionally and personally, a lot of people want access to this bridge because they want to be able to access Ledger Island from the Fresno side of the river. So we have been working with a local engineering firm and have received a quote for some additional analysis. We will be taking that to the trust board of directors next week for approval. So we will have more information about that in the next couple of months, working in collaboration with Carrie. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public?
My name is Ray Falkenberg. I'm a member of the Parkway Trust. I've been over to Ledger Island before it was closed. And it is, in my opinion, one of the prime examples of what we want to have in a parkway along our river. It is spectacular. And so the bridge being closed, it does not give people an opportunity to experience that. I'm hearing that we knew this was an issue in 2014, and here we are, 11 years later. And I know it's difficult to figure the solutions to this thing, but what I'm encouraging everybody to do is to not kick this can down the road too much longer. It's just too easy to say, well, out of sight, out of mind. I'm encouraging action on it. Whatever the best solution is. Thank you.
Yes.
Chris Sloan. I work with the Army National Guard and the Army Reserve. And often you can get one of the units to come out, like I had a subordinate engineer for construction outfit. They had 250 ton cranes. Find a military engineering unit like that, might want to do removing that bridge just as an exercise, in which case the only cost would probably be paying for their fuel to take that's enough. There might be something to consider. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else standing up? We will be moving on. It was asked by staff that we pull item F1 to a further date. And then we'll move on to item F2.
Okay. So Proposition 68 was approved by voters in June of 2018. Their total amount the Conservancy received in Prop 68 was $6 million. Proposition 68 requires at least 20% of the total funding has to be allocated to projects serving severely disadvantaged communities. The Conservancy did commit to using 60% of our Proposition 68 funds to serve severely disadvantaged communities to support other conservancies that cannot achieve the 20%. And so the Conservancy's jurisdiction is constrained to the parkway, but its functionality is a regional park that provides benefits throughout Fresno and Madera counties. Sorry, going back and forth.
So the board, the staff is recommending the board approve the memorandum so that the conservancy can start allocating these position 68 funds. And the memorandum goes over the purpose, background, defining services, and serving the Spanish communities. Any questions from members? Yes.
Still, our $6 million is still what we had totally.
Yes, we just have to subtract about 5% for program delivery.
And just a second question, sorry, I know that you have the included in the packet in the consent item, the projects and priorities list. Is this fund, I say Prop 68 funds, identified for use in the list of projects and priorities? I didn't see that noted, but is that something?
We can use them, yeah.
Okay.
It just, yeah, we need a proposal and then it's to decide. And then. Any other questions from the board? Not hearing nothing online? Yep, okay. Anyone from the public wish to comment on this? We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
And a second? Take roll, please.
Ms. Austin,
Yes.
Mr. Carrossi,
Yes.
Mr. Renfro,
Yes.
Ms. Medina,
Yes.
Mr. Hutler,
Yes.
Mr. Gresham,
Yes.
Ms. Chris,
Yes. Yeah. Can you hear us?
yes. I can hear you. Ms. Hudson,
Yes.
Ms. Forehand,
Yes.
Mr. O'Connell,
Yes.
Mr. Chavez,
Yes.
Ms. Ruiz.
Yes.
The ayes have it.
Okay, and moving right along here to item G1, Deputy Attorney General report.
Oh, there we go.
Hello, this is Sahar Durali, Deputy Attorney General, appearing here on behalf of Jackie Vu. We have nothing to report, but happy to take anything down to report back to Jackie when she's back from her leave.
Anything to report back to Jackie? So thank you. The executive officer's report.
Well, good morning, you guys, and thanks for being here. I think this is going to be our quickest board meeting this year. I have a couple updates, and you might have already seen them because we just started releasing a newsletter to all of our board members, and we're hoping to post it soon on our brand new super awesome website that we've just deployed last week. So I want to just go over a couple of things quickly, but I hope that you guys are enjoying the new website and newsletter with all of our monthly updates. We are continuing to work through the 7.95% reduction in vacancy suite. We did get final confirmation, and I did report that out in the newsletter, that we will be losing our vacant parks and maintenance worker 2 position and the funding associated with that. And so, although it is a loss to the Conservancy, we do have an opportunity to create that same position while we work through our rollout of Prop 4, so that we can support implementing projects that are tied to Prop 4. So we're losing the position, but we're hoping to gain it back. And we're working with agency on that. So until then, we're just waiting. In that waiting period, we're also working on our policies that we said that we would start. Fee collection policy has been kicked off, strategic plan has been kicked off, and our JEDI policy we're kicking off. And we're gonna try to get some of those in front of the board before the end of the year. In the newsletter, we said that we were continuing to work with DGS on our SJRC nature-based solutions contract, and I'm happy to announce that it was signed this week. So we can give them a notice to proceed, and they can provide the much needed services for planning and implementing nature-based solutions and fire fuel reduction and management on our properties. We are also currently working with Madera County to improve the entrance and roads at Sycamore Island. So we have had some conversations with them. They've expressed an interest and willingness to help. And we will be meeting with them on site to help improve the roads. It's gotten really bad after these rains. I'm actually really terrified to see what it looks like after today and this last weekend's storm event. But we're really happy that they're willing to help and provide those services. And so we're meeting on site, I believe next week to get a more concrete scope of work to them. We're also similarly working with the city of Fresno for ongoing operations and maintenance at Judson River Ranch and Jensen River Ranch Extension that we talked about at our previous board meeting, working with them to enter into a contract to provide those long-term operations and maintenance of those properties. So currently working with them on that. And then super exciting news, we have scheduled a date for Wildwood Native Park's grand opening event. It's March 22nd. Dr. Joaquin Rambulin will be present and providing speaker's notes. I'll be there and we'll have a handful of board members there. So really happy to announce that, and I hope that everyone can join us. It'll be at 9 o'clock that morning. Okay. And we also received an executive order from our governor, Gavin Newsom, asking for all state employees to return to work in the office 4 days a week starting July 1st. So we'll be navigating our return to work. Thankfully, we are a small agency with plenty of space for staff. So that is not an issue for us, but we do have some administrative items that we need to make changes to our duty statements and expectations memos, like HR things, so that it memorializes our return to work 4 days a week in the office. And that's everything that I have. Okay. Okay.
Why 4 days, not 5 days?
You have to ask the governor.
They just said 4 days.
It's 4 days a week, 1 day, we're still allowed a telework option. Yes.
The governor offer any funding for parents having to scramble and deal with health, care for their children?
The executive order does allow for, reasonable accommodations and, flexibility for make their issues that, like, just like you was saying. So it's at the executive officer's discretion. So my discretion on what kind of allowances can be made. And, that'll be, I mean, we'll work on that on an individual by individual basis.
Got
Any other questions? And you'll send out a formal notice about the Wildwood opening.
We have some here today, and, it is in the newsletter at an upcoming date. So, if you want one, please feel free to pick them. I'll one up. I think there's a couple extra. And yes, Joanna's, please.
Great. Okay, and now, board members' reports and comments.
I have something.
Okay.
On the 19th of last month, I had the opportunity to do the board tour. Such a wonderful experience, navigating through the front entrance of the Oak Policeman to Vita Parkway, and visiting a lot of the open properties with caring executive officers, thank you, caring and staff were allowing me that opportunity, and it just really gave me a vision of what it will be, right? Big project that we have, and so really excited to be part of this group, and I'm excited that I commented to Perry that I'm so happy that we have this problem, right? Because I don't think any other counties in California have the same opportunity, but we do. And so I'm so happy that we get to work and often properties to the community that we serve. So thank you, Perry, for that.
Yes.
In the past, I requested that we put an item on the agenda regarding PACE and its future. At the request of the chair, I called that off, and I'm not going to do that anymore. I believe the original enabling legislation for PACE required a 1-year review, and we're not at that point. So I'm insisting this time that we do have that on our agenda, and we discuss the future of PACE.
We'll put it on for the main agenda.
Thank you.
Okay. And anyone else? Yes.
So I have some exciting news. Since I'm part of the California Climate Action Corps, my host site has allowed me to work with the Conservancy on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So I'm really excited to work on like restoration, like the connection between the Fresno State Horticultural Unit and Conservancy, helping with like the website updates, and outreach.
We're so excited to have you. We have plenty of room.
Yes.
And they've been very welcoming.
What else? No, no one online?
No.
Okay. Next we have G4 organization reports.
Good morning, Dr. River Tree Volunteers. I think you may know, because it went out on the Conservancy's website, or calendar, that we are working with the Conservancy at Lydell this Sunday. And I think it's gonna be the first event like this at Lydell, where we work with Jim Perez at Bluff Point Golf Course. He's allowed us to launch canoes from his side of the pond and then park into the dirt lot there for canoe trailers. The purpose of going in on the pond with kayaks and canoes is to clean up the pond because the embankments are too steep to walk down, up and down. In addition, we're going to do a land-based cleanup, which is picking up some trash, but mostly removing scarlet wisteria seed pods. This is an invasive weed and it's overrun Lydell. So if we can slow down the spread by removing the seed pods, continue to do this activity annually, quarterly, possibly we can start eradicating the scarlet wisteria from one of the Conservancy properties. So I think this is going to be a great opportunity for the Conservancy, military, and everybody involved. On top of that, we're working with the Sierra Resource Conservation District. We've done some climate action work with them. We also are going to be taking and doing 2 canoe trips, one for the Elder Water Park kids, disadvantaged neighborhood at Sycamore Island, and another one for the Sweet Potato Farm at Sycamore Island. So 2 with that. We were currently introduced to the Peak Community Center, which is in Highway State. And Mike, is that still in your district or not?
Sadly, it's just south of District 1.
Okay, because that is located on Polk Avenue between Shaw and Gettysburg. And they wanted to name it the Highway City deal, but there was a problem with names. So we're working with them for building and installing some benches and signs for them, for this community center. And also we'll probably be taking them on a road trip for the then Disadvantaged Youth Organization. So we have a lot of projects going. That's only the tip of the iceberg for us for now. So thank you.
Yeah.
Hello, Sarah Parks with the River Parkway Trust. Just a really quick update. On Saturday, March 15th, we are working with Valley Children's Adaptive Sports Program to host a mini camp, a mini river camp for their athletes. That's going to include adaptive canoeing, fishing on the dock at Sycamore Island, and some other fun activities. They are so excited about this, and our longer term vision is to hopefully expand this pilot program into a multi-day camp or even a week-long program as we do with our other river camps. But it would be great if any of you are available to come out. It's going to be a really fun morning, and that's going to start at 10 a.m. That's good morning. It's at the Trout Horns. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. One moment.
Richard Sloan, Fresno Canoe and Kayak Club. We're excited about the opening of Wildwood, and we are planning to do some canoe kayak activities. We'll have to coordinate with the Conservancy as to what exactly will happen. But right now we have in mind that the Flomax part of our group may possibly be arriving by kayak, and the canoe part of it might be departing from Wildwood. But that's in the works. We're excited about that. We're going to continue trips, kayak trips continually. People call up and sometimes they say, hey, can we go out tomorrow or the next day? So we just go. I mean, everything we do is free. And I want to get back on that statement I made earlier about the National Guard, Army Reserve, the port construction outfit. They have divers, they have everything you need to construct a port. And the unit has just been reconstituted. It did go out of business through 19th Transportation Brigade, but I'd be glad to help with that. We're military in the past, getting assistance, moving a bridge for the 17 River Trail. And a few other, moving a locomotive in the park with a heavy crane, things like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. All right. Next item 8, the next case meeting is April 3rd. Between 5:30 and 7:30, Willard Park Library. And our next board date is May 7th. So we will adjourn this meeting. And I thank you all.